All right, just making sure everything looks good. I was running a little behind this morning, had to reschedule. I wanted to start at 8. It is 8:40 Eastern. I've on my other screen here, I'm just getting all my little windows set up. So that way I don't miss any comments. There we go. I want YouTube calls it a control room for a video. Okay. Yeah, I want to figure out how I can get, I've got the chat in OBS, which is the streaming software that I use to connect to YouTube, and I'd like to get somehow, excuse me, a viewer count, because I can see comments, but nothing else. Anyway, let's get into where we left off, which I believe was taking an inventory. We did a good job with tab. We were looking at icon buttons, and tabs brought up a ton of interesting stuff. And something that happened between last stream and this stream is that Mihai, who joined me last time, was pointing out that, excuse me, my voice, if we go into Safari here, and let's open a couple tabs. We'll do everything just google.com, right? If I add another tab here, there's two different tab displays, two different compositions. There's one that seems, I guess, a bit more, tab-like, honestly. But if we go into Safari's settings, they also have this compact one, which actually, this is kind of like tabs too, right? Oh, and this is, oh my gosh, the animation between them. So, which one might be closer to what I'm kind of wanting to make this easy on myself. I'm going to move the settings out of the way here. I'm wondering, one way I could go about this is kind of take a poll, right? And ask folks, wow, excuse me. I'm actually going to go get a glass of water. I will be back in just a moment. Okay, so I was saying, one way that I could do this is think about myself and be a bit selfish here. Which of these is going to be easiest to build? Separate tabs or compact tabs, right? And the way that I would look at that and make that decision is honestly look and see which composition is more like Google more like Chrome and Firefox, because the closer they are in composition to one of those browsers, the easier it is, I think, to make a kind of universal sort of browser frame, right? And just from what I'm seeing, I think that would be separate tabs, because that would mean for all of them, there is this row in the interface where you've got the URL bar, and that is separate from another row where tabs appear. So I think separate tabs would be easier for me to build, but the other way to think about it is, well, how do real life people use Safari? I would not know. I do not use Safari. I use Arc these days. And so if most of the time, if, for example, somebody downloads this file once it's finished and they want to display their design work in my Safari browser window Figma frame, right? But I offer a tab layout that is not what they expect or what they would like to have. I don't know, part of me kind of wants to just say like, hey, tough squash, tough beans, you get what you get. I think I'm going to start with separate tabs. I kind of tried to do like an informal poll on Twitter. It didn't get a lot of replies. I'm okay with that. I'm going to do separate tabs. I'm going to go with making this easy on myself. And then perhaps in the future, if there's demand for compact, if people are telling me they want that, hey, if somebody else builds it and they want me to integrate that into the file and then credit them for it, I would be happy to do that too. This could take a lot of shapes, but I think that's how we're going to go for a decision on tab layout for Safari. So we can continue our audit. URL bar, right. We did a lot with that. We did a lot with also color coding, this like planning space here. Green for Chrome, orange for Firefox, and blue for Safari. And then yes, because in our browser collection, we're gonna have elements that are browser specific. So having just a single Boolean to hang all of that off of is gonna be helpful. The same way we'll have kind of like a just big old minimum width for all of these. They all have, excuse me, different minimum widths. Golly. I think it's just morning voice, right? Truth be told, I did kind of just wake up. That's why I was running late. I should have set an earlier alarm. Okay. I'm not too concerned about like picking up exactly where I left off and potentially forgetting something. I recall saying, hey, Mihai, I recall saying in previous streams, like, I'm okay with this planning thing only capturing about 80% of what I need it to capture. Like, I don't need to have every single decision mapped out. I'm okay with getting into actually building and still having to come back and kind of figure some stuff out. We're mostly just wanting to, you know, we want to get the majority of stuff, get the obvious stuff, hopefully get a couple unobvious things. But yeah. Okay. Icon buttons, URL input. What else is there to examine? Color mode wise. This is kind of where we left off too, right? This focus state. And that is going to be different across the browsers and in light and dark mode, right? That's what we discovered. So URL input, yes, stroke. That's what that was for. And it will be different for Firefox and will be different for Safari. Right, and then this is where we were capturing Firefox specific things. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'll have to maybe do a second pass over all of this and see how much, because this could get to be a really long list. But yeah, what other components? We've got our icon buttons, which we sorted out the colors for already. This is how we found those Firefox only ones. We've got, oh, the type ahead menu. Okay, that could be a fun one to focus on for this stream. Right, when you, I'm gonna go back to separate tabs here. When you are typing in a URL, and if I start typing in kitties, right, I get this type ahead menu experience, right? This is meant to save me some time. So if I grab a screenshot of that for Chrome, oh, we're gonna have shadows. We are gonna have to contend with having shadows. So this appears, yeah, to be using that same gray. And then we've got these type ahead menu items, right? And how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they have different presentations too. You can see here we have a search icon for just like, hey, here's a string, search for that. But then we've got like some media here, right? A little thumbnail preview. Let's try a different keyword that might pull up some more information. I know that the Emmys was an awards thing that happened recently. It looks like in Chrome. What about a song? Lil Nas X. I'm wanting to see. It looks like there's a couple different presentations here. Like this thumbnail for Old Town Road looks like it's more of a rectangle than a square, which is what those other ones are kind of showing up as. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, let's measure this real quick. So we've got 20 tall versus 26, 27. Probably, I would hope it's 26. 27 would be so weird. Hold on. Oh, 28. Even better. That is a better number. Okay. So that's going to be an interesting one. So we have different kinds of media here. What else? Do you think that covers it? Searching for music. How about a movie? I was just recommending to a friend The Devil All the Time, a tragic film. It was good. I would not watch it again. I don't think I need to. It was too sad. I don't regret watching it, but it's I don't need to do that again. Okay, that looks like it gets the same presentation. So this is perhaps sufficient. We've got 3 different, oh, and a different icon here, like, hey, did you already search for this? Golly. When I think about, you know, browsers are like, I mean, they're whole products, right? And so to offer every single piece of interface, to offer something super comprehensive, is pretty ambitious. And I don't want to be foolish about this. I want to really think about, like, how are people actually going to use this type ahead menu? This would be for folks who are prototyping. I think somebody who wants to just mock up their design inside a browser window, they don't need this. They don't really care about the type ahead menu, is my assumption. So who am I optimizing for? I guess is a question that I want to, search for rank or any term. Let's see. 2024 movies ranked or ranked list. Oh, term that could be a definition. Definition of, yeah. Design. No, that didn't do it. But yeah, this is what you're talking about, Mihai. This extra. Oh, just any term. I see. Okay. Yeah, how might we get another one of those? Oh, think of any term. Quality. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's how that appears. Oh, golly. So yeah, different ones. And then different icons. Anyway, going back to who am I optimizing for? I think to prevent this from going on forever and ever, I would like to optimize first for the mockup folks because that's simpler, right? It's less to build. And then prototyping. So what does that mean for the order of what I work on in these streams? It could mean that this comes later. It could be, there's a ton to dig into here. I could easily spend time on that, but perhaps that goes lower on my list. Type ahead menu and type ahead menu items. Perhaps we scoot these to the bottom. I will need all those icons. Oh my gosh, just drawing all those. Switch to this tab. That's something, yeah. Like if I start typing in Google here, because I already have a tab open over here, I'm offered a switch to this tab. Little button inside of the menu item. But again, that is part of the type ahead menu. I should start perhaps organizing these. Or actually, yeah, just taking inventory for these type ahead menu items. Right, because we're going to need a couple different things here. Like, we'll have to decide is, so revealing these buttons, for instance. And this like definition. Are they separate components? Are they one component with different variants? We already are going to have, we need to have a hover state. Active. What would active look like? Perhaps we won't need active. I guess this is kind of active in a way, right? Like it's the first item in the list. This is Google's best bet for, or like if you just hit enter, this is what you are searching for. This is where you will be taken. So it's kind of like the property is like first in the list. In fact, let's go back. Like again, if I start, okay, Google, I can move that around. I can use my arrow keys to move that around, which is different from a hover state. This itself does not have a hover state. But yes, I can use my keyboard to scoot that around. So I would say that is an active state. And I can tab through inside of this thing. These things have their own focus. Let's go back. And I'm sure that that changes, light and dark mode. Let me bring up my system settings here. Go to light. Cool. Oh, I got to shout out again, Molly Hellmuth for being the one on Twitter who I first learned about the offset focus ring method, like componentizing it, or like using it as a frame, I think was how I first saw her talking about it. It's just like a nested frame, absolute positioned. You get all the benefits of, you can use your styles. You don't have to do the weird thing with the shadow anymore. Oh my God, it's just so inspired. And it like such an elegant, simple solution too. And I remember being like frustrated, like, I can't believe I didn't think of that. But I was so glad that somebody did and somebody put it on the internet. And I now love and look forward to putting focus states on components in Figma because there's a method that is reliable and strong. And shout out to Molly for being the one to help me arrive at that solution. It would have taken me forever probably without seeing her tweet. Definitely recommend following her if you're not. She puts out really good tips, Figma tips. Let's see. Okay. What do I want to do with all this? We are trying to decide right now, like all these different states. So we've got that active state. I think active is going to be this thing with the blue bar. And I think that does, it's going to be, yes, a variant Boolean. It will not have a hover state. I kind of want to, I think I'm inclined to have these different types of options be separate components, but I kind of want to first explore those as variants. So we have like term definition items. We have, I guess, media, right? Like Old Town Road here for the song. We also have, I guess it's just taking like an open graph image of the first result or something. Um, so we could call that image thumbnail. And then there's just, the default string, like, yeah, here's a string of text, search for it, go ahead. But then there's also search again, right? This little, like, hey, you've searched for this before. Which, yeah, I am so excited for that Hotbox song to drop. And I believe that that is a collaboration with Daft Punk, which is so cool. Good for Nas to get them on a collab. So we've got five, right? Five different kinds. I'm thinking like, is google.com, I guess like that's like just a URL, and then we've got the we're gonna have the favicon, which is different from these other guys. So then we've got like the favicon one. Like if you're going directly to a URL and you've been there before, then you probably have this little guy stored somewhere. So 6. So yeah, what happens if we'll have these different types. They're all going to have that similar hover state, of course. Oh, what the heck is this? Oh, so maybe supermarket company. I mean, maybe it's just a really weirdly shaped image. Now I'm wondering, is this actually an image? Do we not perhaps like maybe media isn't real? Maybe it's just thumbnail. Because that would make sense. Like a thumbnail for a song is probably going to be in those dimensions, but like these other things could be squares. Gosh. Okay, we'll start with those. And the difference between these things, like they've got all of them, the like we sometimes have in a lighter color and bold what you are typing up here. So whatever your string is up here is light and bold. And then sometimes there will be extra information on it, but then there's also in a slightly darker, but just slightly, color is this extra information, kind of telling you, like, this is interesting because I've got Lil Nas X, right? And that's a matching string here, but it is not highlighted. I'm trying to see, like, how do I need to split up, if at all? Like, what would I name this text layer versus this text layer, if I split them? And I think I would need to split them up because this is a thumbnail type ahead item, different from a string. And then we go over here. I guess it would just be, I don't know what you would call that, like the anatomy of it. I guess it's like we'd have a property called first. Well, not for that would be the layer name. I think what I want to do is, and this is such a crutch, I do this a lot, having a property called type, which I don't think is a great property name. It would be a variant, right? And then we would have these would be our different options for somebody to choose from. And that would show and hide different parts. Which kind of really loads this up with a lot of stuff. I think actually the difference between search again and default string, yes, they're different types, but they're kind of like they've got the exact same composition. We're really just talking about the only difference being an icon here. So I think I would just have an option called default, and then maybe, I kind of want a way to like toggle between those two icons. Like if type is set to default, you have access to another property. So this property's visibility depends on type. I kind of want it to be a Boolean. And this would be search again, true, false, false, true. So by default, you get this presentation, but you could opt in to, oh, nope, I don't want the magnifying glass. I want the little go back in time, search for this again icon. And that gives you, that means you've got term definition, thumbnail, default should be first in the list. And then favicon. And depending on which one of these you select, you might get these extra bits of definition, like the definition one. This is going to be really, we're always going to have definition of, that's a text layer. The term, in this case, Nova, right? That's a text layer. This little dot could be its own text layer. This could be its own text layer. And then this whole, the beginning of the definition is a text layer. I'm going to take also a quick break. I need to check some notifications. I will be back in a moment. All right, I'm back. And I think I need to cut this one short. I did wake up late, and yeah, that's on me. But I will be streaming tomorrow. We can pick back up on maybe these type ahead items and figuring out the component API. But yeah, good to make even little bites of progress. So thank you for joining. As always, best way to get notifications about when I'm streaming next is to subscribe to me on YouTube here. And yeah,